Is that you? Ah, it is. Well, hello everybody. Just Tenacious Earl here, checking in a bit. So, first off, want to apologize to those who followed the Phillies replay right up to the very end. I know some of you probably watched it live, and then the video disappeared. You probably wondered why. Well, suffice it to say, technology got the better of me, and so I have two applications that I use for doing, just a second, apologize. Hi, Herb. I have two applications that I use for doing video recording. The first is the native YouTube app. Am I hitting the bottle? No, not yet. Give it time. Give it time. And the other's called Wirecast Go. Well, and I'm using that right now. When I use Wirecast Go, things go pretty smoothly. Now for the thing is, I would use the native YouTube app pretty regularly, and everything was hunky-dory, uploaded fine. Well, then I updated it, and then so people will have watched. Well, I don't want to say people have watched, but if you did watch 159, you will have seen. My English is, maybe I have hit the bottle and I just didn't know it, but you will have seen where it basically hung up about the fifth inning, and it's unfortunate because that was probably one of the most that game, I think, typified what that whole season was about, even though there were so few games that were like that. I don't really want to I don't want to spoil anything in case you want to go look. Unfortunately, you don't get to see any of it because the stupid thing quit recording the video, and it frustrated me. So then I got to game 160. So hi Benny, hi Craig, hi Jerry. You guys rock. And I roll. No, you guys roll too. But maybe I am drunk. I don't know. Anyway, so and then I got to 160, and if you'll notice, there are two videos, and it's because after like an inning of that game, it like hung up and just started freezing the video screen, and so I ended up switching to Wirecast Go, which I've used on many occasions for videos, but I started using the YouTube app because I thought that the quality was a little better, seemed to be a little bit more reliable until then. And then, so then I did 161 and 162, and they streamed fine. And I think I was trading some messages with Craig today. He said he watched, I think, 162 without a problem. And then I happened into the app today and saw that there was like this air uploading thing, the HD copy. I'm like, what's this? So then it gives me some options, and I hit delete upload, and then all of a sudden the video completely disappears, and it's just like, so 161 and 162 are not there, unfortunately. Well, it's not the end of the world because the Phillies sucked in those games, and in 162 the Phillies played a depleted lineup, which actually might have been interesting in that it was one of their more very varying lineups that they had ever used. That was the only like major variant of a lineup they used all season, and so for me that was a little bit of a neat twist. And actually, I'm somewhat glad that it's not there anymore because I had a major gaffe in it, in that I forgot that 2 runs were scored. So I acted in the 9th inning like the Phillies had a chance, and instead they were still like 4 runs behind or something like that. So shame on me for that. If you watched it, then you may have figured that out yourself, and then you were sitting there laughing at me, which it was okay because I don't want to say I had checked out in that, but it was just like, I could see where players will have checked out because it's very easy to kind of get nonchalant and, I don't want to say not care, but just the level of intensity and focus is not quite as much when it's all. And I think what happens is if you get used to having that much intensity, then when it ain't over till it's over. Well, it's over at least at least the regular season. But when you're used to having that kind of intense focus, and then all of a sudden you have this release. Maybe I should have waited a few days to finish that off, because maybe I would have sort of like chilled out. But instead I was overly chilling and almost frigid, if you will. No, anyway. So that's my apology. So those two aren't there. Suffice to say, the bottom line is the Phillies got swept in that final series. And it actually was fortunate for the Phillies that somehow the Braves lost 1 of 3 to the Astros, lest they would have ended up tied and they would have had a 1-game playoff, which might have sent me to the loony bin, which I think some of my family has already, called in for some advice on whether that's in the cards or not. But no. That being said, it was good. So we did have a 1-game playoff necessary, and I let the sim it out. I don't know how it did it. Maybe I will go back and look at the box score to make sure that everything was on the up and up. But I kind of already decided that I'm going to let them play it out, and whatever happens, happens. And so it was for the AL Central title, Cleveland and the White Sox. So in real life, the White Sox and I believe the Twins, was the Twins, they had a 1-game playoff and the White Sox won it. Probably Benny Blades knows about this because he's a Windy City guy. But in this one, the Indians prevailed. And I think it was like either 8-7 or 7-6. It was a very close game. I should have looked up the box score to see how it all went down, but I guess at that point I was just kind of like, I want to see what happens and just sort of like sort out who is where and like what the matchups are for the division series. And so Strat PC actually is a pretty good tool for that. You can take your league after it's all said and done. Benny heard my family already enrolled me into Looney Town. Yeah, well, enrolled, committed. It's just a semantics, So what you could do is you could take your league once you have it set up, and you select the teams, and you just hit create playoff league or play. I think that's what it's called. And, it takes them in there. Then you have to decide, you have to really figure out how much rest each team has. And that's something that I created probably 3 or 4 different leagues and deleted them before I finally got to where I wanted, because I realized I had to kind of go back and actually schedule it out on paper how I wanted it to be laid out, considering the fact that I think Detroit and Chicago had a game to make up in order to settle whether or not a playoff was necessary, and then you had the playoffs. So I think that was on September 30th. And thus, the playoffs did start on October 1, and that's what they're going to start on in my simulation. But the Cleveland series against, I believe it's Boston, I think that can't start until the 2nd. And I think it was the same thing in real life when it came to the White Sox. They played... oh, man. Maybe the Angels? I forget. I should have it in front of me, but I don't. It wouldn't have been... It couldn't have been... couldn't have been the Rays. Could it? Probably LA played the Rays. So maybe the White Sox played Boston in that series. But that started on the 2nd, so the Cleveland series had to start on the 2nd, and everything else will start on the 1st. And so the matchups end up being the Phillies will go up against the Cubs, and I think the Cubs have the home field advantage for that, and then the Brewers face the the Dodgers. Obviously, Milwaukee is the wild card team, so they're on the road. And then for the American League, like I said, Cleveland at Boston. And then you have the Yankees, who won the wild card. They are at the Angels. So those are your matchups, and I'm not sure. I'll probably start in a week or so. I kind of like to have... I have to do this day by day, so I've got to, because of the way that I'm using Strat PC, I kind of have to do them chronologically. I can't like play one series. I could, but it's a little. Then I'd have to enter probably 20 games into Strat PC at one time, and I've done that before with Ballstat, and it's not so. And it's not so. Yes, the Phillies did make. Yeah, they squeaked it out. They were able to sweep the Braves in that last series against them, and then they had to face the Nationals, and their magic number was 1. And like I said, they got swept by the Nationals, but the fact the Braves lost 1 put them over the top. So they beat the Braves by 1 game. So that would have been a lot more. The first game of that series, that 160, it is like still the tension's there. And then in 161, it wasn't there because I revealed that Atlanta had lost to Houston, which basically put the Phillies over the top. But like I said, in the TBL, I had done periods of time where I had forgotten, or not forgotten, I had procrastinated doing the stat updates, and that was a real slog when I realized I had about 30 to do, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do a few. You know, it does make me happy. Sure, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy the regular season is over. That's been my stance for the most part. I would say it's about 90% happy it's over, 10%. A little bit forlorn that it's done, like a little bit like you miss it. I think in the video that got deleted, I mentioned something about a former boss of mine, so I'll repeat it here, saying that when I would go back to college after the summer job, that it was kind of like when if he had like the hiccups for like 20 years and then all of a sudden they went away. That's how much he would miss me. It's kind of like that's what the same way with this project. There's sort of this Stockholm syndrome that you have that it's here and it's like something that's been on your mind quite a bit for a long, long time, and then it's gone and there's a little bit of missing it. But again, with the amount of tension that it gave me. Now I got another tension. I mean, the Phillies are going to play the Cubs. I have to figure out how I'm going to handle that because I feel like I need to handle it better. I just don't know how to handle it better. And I think part of it will be we have all different matchups. We have 2 teams that were, never in the playoffs in that series or in that season. So we have to take some liberties with this. I have to adjust. I mean, I'm going to pick the, there's got to be 25-man roster. And so I have to kind of pick that. I may want to retool that based on what was in real life, based on the opponent. If the Phillies being left-handed, the Cubs may want an extra lefty out of the pen as opposed to, I don't know. I'd have to look and see what I'd already done some digging on what their playoff roster was like for that division series. But then again, I'm going to take that into advisement, but I might also adjust it because it's a different matchup. When the Cubs played the Dodgers in that series, they might have had a whole different strategy because it's a whole different team. So, but then I got 2 teams that I have to formulate a playoff roster for. So again, another thing we're going to be using. I'm going to make the lineups. I'm going to probably again take into advisement what was done by the managers of the teams that made it. But I'm also, so lefty-righty lineups I'm probably going to use somewhat similarly to what was done in real life. But I don't know. I partly want to take a little bit of liberty in this, because I do know that I think that was a part of my frustration. Was it's as played, you're just constantly just using the same lineups over and over again that real life did, and you don't have a whole lot of play in it. The other thing is I'm going to have to use injuries because, we're going straight sim here at this point. This is not a recreation. This is a simulation. So we're going to have injuries come up, and, I'll just use subs where we need it. If a guy gets injured, if he's coming out for the rest of the series, then we can bring up an emergency replacement. He just has to be out. The other guy needs to be out for the rest of the series. You can make switch. You can swap. So you can swap players in between the series and stuff like that. But it's going to be a little more TBL feeling, as far as it's going to be a little bit more, fictional than what we did in the as played, which was pretty straight up for the most part. Obviously you have score effects, and you're probably not going to use Brad Lidge when it's not a save situation, but you do sometimes. So let's see. It would have been a boring ride if there wasn't some drama in the season. Their goal was to make the playoffs. Too bad Strat doesn't have a cup for completing a project. Yeah, it's a trophy cup. Cups are for soccer. And for auto racing, I guess, right? You ignore or accept injuries in the recreation. Hey, Jerry. Well, that's what I mean. I ignored injuries in the replay. In this, I'm going to have to take them because it's part. What I have to do for one, I have to do for all. And so if I have to simulate two of the teams having injuries, then I have to simulate all of the teams having injuries. If I could use all the teams' real injuries, and so I'm using their lineups, and so their injuries affect with the way that they put the teams out there, then I would probably just ignore the injuries. But this time we will. No more Charlie lineups. Dump Charlie. Yeah. Well, I did kind of like the Victorino in the 2-hole, but I don't know why Charlie went away from that. I think he liked having Chase and the extra on base opportunities, and maybe a few extra slugging opportunities there. But I'll tell you, Rollins was 349 on the card. I don't recall him being that good on base percentage-wise. But, so, I mean, you could see I haven't even put the cards away yet. I've been what they like to define in my neck of the woods as a slacker. So, but that's good. Everybody's got to be a slacker every once in a while. I literally had some things to do. Do I feel like I know the team better now? I think I kind of knew the team to begin with, but I think I definitely recall now that, Scott Iyer came in. Like, I remember Matt Stairs coming in in like middle of August, thereabouts. I kind of forgot about Scott Iyer being such a relevant portion of the bullpen. I didn't recall J.C. Romero being so poor against right-handers, but he was. I don't recall Brad Lidge being so susceptible to getting hit, but I think he was probably. And I gave Strat a lot of flack. I think some of it's warranted, and some of it's probably not. I think it's probably pretty close to being on the money. It's a lot closer than the grump in me that needed to get his way and wasn't getting his way. baseball demos. If you're not slacking, you're not trying. That is absolutely correct. Or no, if you are slacking, you're not trying. Yeah, that's more like it. But yeah, they're both. I'll take them both. Ken, the jet setter, heading out to the Midwest for some APBA action. You can see his high school from your office window right now. That's good. Yeah. Now it's probably considered a high school out there, but you know, low-hanging fruit, I know. So now I'm just kind of like trying to get the cards back together again. Yeah, there's Beatles Eternally. Love, love me do. I'll stop now. Sorry. So I'm trying to decide. Here's a good question for all of y'all. And I just said that horribly, but all right. So these thingies here, I'm trying to decide if I need to like pull them out of the card decks, so I don't know if there'll be any transfer of ink off of these cards. I haven't really noticed it at all yet on, I mean, in these rode shotgun for quite a while in the regular card decks, but that was the Beatles with an Elvis accent. Oh, you're gonna shut up, we got toe jam football, we got. And I think that was Gordon Lightfoot. Never mind. Hey, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it, Dems. That's it. I don't want to get run in for yeah, actually, Benny, I'm surprised that who has that? Demos, right? I'm surprised they haven't already like sued him for coming up with an idea that they haven't yet come up with, but they may just do, and therefore they should get some money in the process for even using their name in such a fashion. Yeah. I was looking for a math joke that included pot, but you know, it's no, not this time. So yeah, see, I could sit here for 5 minutes and try to think of this, and I'm not going to be able to. So, but probably David there and Craig are already token up to kind of come up with these jokes. Now, so anyway, yeah. So this is a point where I've kind of got to put things together, and you know, put the cards back in the little container, and yeah, I want to get started with a golf tournament. So the Lone Star Open, I think, is up next. All my jokes go up in smoke. I mean, we had Chooch in this series, and we're talking about Cheech. So, hey man, what do you mean, Jerry? Say no to drugs? Medicinal stuff. Some of those years they need it just to help you forget their team up there in at Coors Field. That's probably a low blow. Craig's around here, and he's ready to disavow me as. I mean, actually, it would Probably would help their food sales if they were to, you know, they could start adding, you know, Doritos and, you know, extra snot on the French fries just to help you with your little munchie cravings. Doesn't need to be medicinal at Coors Field. That's right, man. We can just pull it out. Nolan, smell it in the Arenado. Oh, man. Yeah, we can... anyway, so there's a lot of dead space in here. I'm trying to... See, my trouble is I start trying to think of these things, and it leads to, like, dead air and people thinking that I'm, like, not being a very good host. So we've got the TGT. Come on, Jerry. We're just having a little fun. Philly should sign Jake the Snake Arrieta. We'll see. We shall see. They might just do that. They keep talking about it. It's being stirred around. I think it's probably just he wants lots of years and lots of money, and they probably don't want as many years and not so much money. Dan Douglas worrying about his sanity with all of the jokes about that evil weed. Last dance with Mary Jane. One more time to kill the pain. Ease the pain? Kill the pain? I don't know. I just messed it up. You guys can boo me off the stage. I deserve it. I'm not so much of a... I'm not such a 90s as I'd say, you know, late 70s, early 80s lover. So, yeah. There you go. That, and yeah. Number, that is the nominalization of numbing, right? A number is something that numbs, right? Ricky, don't lose that number. They don't say it that way, but I'm pretty sure that's what they were getting at. Karaoke machine. Yeah, I could use that. I could kind of use a voice too. Maybe they sell one of those. A little auto-tune. Post-season concert. Yeah, we need to get out the old... I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm like trying to put things together, and I'm in the midst of being a fool. Only a fool would say that. There's another. That's another Steely Dan song for the diehard Steely Dan fans. So yeah, so I got my little 2008 Washington Nationals, the doormats of the East. We'll put the cards in here. So yeah, karaoke machines. They're, I mean, hold on a second, guys.
I wish I could go to the internet so I can get like, so I can add that new expansion team.
So you could what?
Add that new expansion team.
What expansion team?
Because on this, I think I'll be able to buy it.
What? For what? For what? FIFA?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I'd have to see.
There's a thing that you'll be able to plug in here so you can connect to the internet.
It should be connected to the internet. Asia, one of the 20 best rock albums of all time. Yeah, well, I mean, I have a tough time choosing which one I like best when it comes to Steely Dan. I mean, I just, it changes from almost day to day. Oh, that's somebody else. I can't remember who One Toke Over the Line is. Yeah, it's Nate the Skate. But I would say, if you asked me today, Royal Scam. That's a good one. Lots of guitar. Larry Carlton just busting out the chops. I mean, going through all sorts of key changes in his solos and just all together just wiping it out. So, you know, Kid Charlemagne. Then you've got Caves of Altamira. That's not so much guitar. It's a lot of horns and stuff. And then Don't Take Me Alive. Just a real growler. I mean, just such a nasty, beautiful song, if there is such a thing. And then... oh, okay, you can accept... Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you accepting my apology. And then from Don't Take Me Alive, then you've got Sign-In Stranger, which is sort of like a nice little respite before you get to more of a disco number called The Fez, which is just, it's a lot of instrumental and keyboard stuff, but then every once in a while there's this little vocal line that kind of, ain't never gonna do it without the Fez on, oh no. And then there's a little bit more to it than that, but it's a cool, and there's some guitar in there too, but it's a little cleaner than like Don't Take Me Alive. It's a pretty snarly guitar sound in there, pretty nice, pretty tasty. And then you got Green Earrings, which I think they actually had two different guitar players pull that off, because they kind of had two different styles that they were using. I think it was Elliot Randall was one, and I think Denny Dias came back. One of the original Steely Dan members from their first album came back in to play a little bit of like bop sounding guitar lines and stuff. And then from Green Earrings, you then have Everything You Did, and then the Royal Scam closes it out. I think that's the order. If I missed one, oh, I missed Haitian Divorce. That is, I'll tell you what's awesome about Haitian Divorce. Dean Parks played the guitar on that one. And so laid it down clean. Then Walter Becker, rest in peace, Walter, gets out his talk box, takes that track, runs that through his mouth with the talk box, and just that tone. I mean, it's just like so awesome. But anyway, Disco Sucks. Yeah, I mean their take on it was a bit. Everything that they did as a band was sarcastic. So if they ever had a disco sound, it was because they were trying to innovate it or make fun of it. So, all right. Well, I've had enough of a Steely Dan twist. But so anyway, I'm going to sign off because my wife is home and we're going to have dinner here pretty soon. But just wanted to keep you guys updated. We will get started with some golf here maybe a little later tonight. I might set up the tournament first, though, without a video, so we'll see. And then we'll get flying from there and try to move on to some other things, and then get that 2008 playoff season done. What, 35 to 41 games thereabouts it'll take, but we'll get there. So, peace, everybody. Have a great night, and see you later.